Down to Texas and Chris. Hey, Chris.
Roswell's Mr. Bell.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad to finally get in to talk to you since the first time I heard you. You're talking to Mel Waters.
Mel's Hole.
Yes, I've been a fan ever since.
The story goes that Mel sold his hole to the selling his hole. He sold his hole to the government and moved to Australia, where he's living presumably happily ever after. But I'd sure love to talk to Mel. Anyway, proceed.
Yes, sir. 25 years ago, I was a brand new Border Patrol agent. We had more trainees than journeymen, so they would stick two trainees together and say, go do your job. And usual shift, there might be four people working. So we had two guys upriver, myself and my partner downriver. Very little experience between the two of us.
What would you see? I hate this, but I have to know some things.
Yes, sir.
As a Border Patrol agent, you said with very little training. So it's like they send you to when you say river, the Rio Grande?
Yes, sir. Not so
they
much
send you down to the
training,
Rio Grande and they say, watch?
It was very little experience, not training. I may have misspoke there.
Okay.
We had just gotten from the academy, but neither of us had a half a year in yet.
Okay.
So they send us down. They tell us to go fight crime midnights. So we're driving down the river looking for anything that we could see that didn't look right, not really knowing what we were doing, but trying to get on the job experience. We see a bonfire out on this hill that we used to refer to as the party house. It was, at the time, it was out of town quite a ways, but now it's almost in town. And we drove towards it thinking, well, maybe somebody's down there, maybe some aliens, maybe some smuggling.
Right.
And at the time, we had switches that we could throw that would turn all the lights off in the vehicle. So if you hit the brakes or the backup light, nothing would come on. It wouldn't show where the vehicle was.
Sure.
So we turn out all the lights. We're driving down this long dirt road towards the river. And as we come around a corner, there's about 15 or 20 people standing in a huge circle around a giant bonfire. They're all wearing brown, full-length robes. They got their hands up in the air like they're doing some kind of religious ceremony.
Ritual.
Yes. I saw a movie called Race with the Devil with Peter Fonda and Warren Oates several years before this, and that movie came to mind. I looked at these people just in time to see two of them turn towards us and start running at us in a not an aggressive manner, but like we didn't have any business in their little ritual.
Oh, I'm sure you didn't. It was on. This is on the U.S. side of the border, of course, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, about
okay.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Gotcha. And two of them start running toward you. And you were, I'm sure, too armed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But they were armed in Race with the Devil, too.
Oh.
Well,
so what do you guys, you two armed guys, do?
I looked at my partner, he looked at me, I threw it in reverse, and I hit the gas. I said, I don't see any immigration violation happening here. I went backwards with no lights. I made a 90-degree turn, and I didn't slow down until I hit the highway.
I'm with you all the way.
Once we get to the highway, we're trying to decide what to do because our nearest backup is a good 20, 30 minutes away.
Right.
There's one sheriff's deputy, and he's way the heck out of town.
Right.
So who would you report this to? They didn't cover this at the academy.
No. Local law enforcement? I don't know.
Well, we're out of town. We were in the county, and like I said, there was one deputy working, and he was way the heck out of town. And we discussed it the rest of the night. Who should we report this to? And we could not come to a conclusion. So at 8 o'clock
Nor were they
in the morning,
necessarily breaking the law, really.
None that I could see.
Except maybe God's law.
Well, we decided that we just weren't going to tell anybody, and we're going to try and pretend like it never happened.
I
And
don't blame you at all.
We managed to keep our mouths shut for about a good 20 years. Well, finally, about 3 or 4 years ago, I was invited to tell my story on the other show. And unfortunately, the night that they called the house for me to talk, I had a schedule change and I had to work that night.
So you never got to tell the story?
Not to them, but it really upset me because I've listened to that show, like I said, ever since Mel's Hole. So a couple of weeks go by and I'm teaching a class, and I mentioned to the class that I'd almost made it on the radio. And I told them this story about what had happened to me and my partner and how it would have been neat to tell people I'd managed to tell my story to the entire United States and parts of the planet. And one of the students said, hey, you know, about a couple of years ago, I was driving around down by the river and I came across the exact same situation.
Oh?
Yeah, so apparently whoever these people are, they're still out there, they're still doing their little ritual, and I have no idea who they are or what they're doing.
And this person, this student, what did he do?
Exact same thing.
As you did, and as I would have done as well. I really, really appreciate your telling this story on Real Radio.
It was an exciting night.
Thank you, my friend, and take care.